spoke of trouble because the Amish are reciprocal in these greetings by tradition. On top of this, Sarah noticed the head covering that was sported, black, with the passenger wearing what looked to be her Sunday best. This too was odd. Though only 10 miles away, the community to which Sarah belonged had a different way of dressing for church. The clothes that a woman of the Amish faith may differ depending on the day, but there's one thing that people in the area will contend. According to police affidavits made in correspondence with several Amish families of the region, young women in Sarah's area, unlike most Amish settlements, do not wear black head coverings to church. In fact, the norm for this particular district of the Amish church is for women to attend church with the white bonnet that is typically used in other sects to belie married status. More notably weird was the situation itself, seeing as the passenger was riding in a car with a non-Amish on the Lord's Day. That was just unheard of, no matter the sect, as there are particular strictures for Amish people that keep that day holy, including not working, among other things. While Sarah could contend that all of these facts were odd, she shared one more fact that laid heavily on the investigators. The passenger looked back at Sarah, right at her, and instead of waving, gazed at her with pleading eyes. It was after all of this that Sarah shared her belief. After seeing several photos of Linda, she believed that this passenger was indeed the missing girl. Sarah and Isaac, along with Jonathan and Ronks, all had seen some strangeness. But what else could be confirmed? The police didn't have what they needed as of yet, but there was still more to learn. Gideon King III, another member of the Amish community near Sarah and Isaac, offered his report of a red or orange vehicle passing him as he drove his buggy on Amish Road, just north of the nearby state highway. He was only a mile from where Sarah and Isaac had been walking when they had seen the passenger they described. And though they didn't know Gideon, he described the same thing, an Amish woman in church attire sitting in a vehicle, which was inappropriate. All the same, he confirmed that in this small locale, Amish women did not wear black head coverings to church, and he stated that he didn't know anyone else had reported such a vehicle. Enter Isaac Esch, whose testimony was able to confirm what Jonathan had witnessed before. Esch, living on Stumptown Road, not even a half a mile down from the church, had himself seen the red vehicle in question heading down the road away from Linda's church. He noted that the car turned into Red Lane for what seemed like a minute before turning back around and heading west, toward the church once more. Though his porch where he sat was 15 to 20 yards from the road, Esch was able to see the sole occupant both times it passed his home. A male driver, seemingly white at first glance, with darker hair and skin, so possibly Hispanic, in other words, a similar description to whoever Jonathan saw outside of his business. Regardless, when this was confirmed, Detectives Christopher Jones and Scott Eelman knew it was time to revisit an asset they didn't have just a bit before. You see, one thing that didn't come into play until a bit later was video surveillance nearby. Bird in Hand isn't just home to Amish people, and in fact there are businesses and homes held by Amish and non-Amish alike, some of which have made camp right there on the 500th block of Beachdale Road. One such home had a security system installed, sporting a camera which was found to have footage. However, the original video wasn't viewable, and so the FBI labs did a thorough forensic examination of it before finally making it available to view. There was plenty to notice when they finally did. Firstly, there was visible footage of Linda and a group of friends as they walked to church. There, it was clear from the get-go, Linda had on the attire that police were told about, including a black bonnet, and a light dress and apron to go with it. Then, the police looked later in the video to find a red car passing the camera's field of vision and pulling off of the road to what would be Linda's left on her way home, idling on what turned out to be an Amish farm lane. Not even 4 minutes later, a pale shape dressed in white walked down the road, same path leading to the church, but in the opposite direction from before. Could this be Linda? Before this question is answered, though, the investigators find a surprising twist in the footage. The person in white is approached by another person, unknown, heading from Linda's left, the direction of the mystery car. This person crosses the road to the person in white, and together they leave, all in the span of 1 minute and 2 seconds. Not very much the span of time that a friendly, shy person would take to say hello, much less follow someone off of her designated path. After they leave the road in the direction of the unknown car, the footage shows once again as a red Kia Rio pulls off, displaying an LCM bumper sticker and a distinct spoiler. This looked like the confirmation the detectives needed to request a police record check, and there was a bit of success. In the database was a red-colored 2007 Kia Rio, and they even got a license plate number to go with it. What's more, this vehicle was registered to a driver who matched the descriptions offered by both Esh and Jonathan alike, a man named Justo Roberto Smoker. It was then that the detectives took note that Justo worked at a place called Dutchland Incorporated, a water treatment supplier in Gap, Pennsylvania, that was only an 8-minute drive south of where the couple, Sarah and Isaac, saw the car they described. This 34-year-old man, Justo, was once an all-star in his high school for wrestling, and he graduated with a 3.0 GPA, only to get himself arrested at age 21 for a string of robberies. 4 different businesses in a 6-day period during the summer of 2006. He admitted to these crimes, stating that he and his brother Victor did so with a BB gun. At Justo's sentencing, his parents, who adopted him at age 7, told the judge they'd be taking care of him once he got out of prison. His sentence, which required a minimum of 12 and a half years, ended in February of 2019, while his brother was released in 2016. This man was who showed up when the records came back for the Kia Rio, and so, heading out to Dutchland Incorporated, they wound up finding said vehicle in the parking lot. They waited, and soon were able to tail the Kia as it exited the parking lot and headed for the 3200 block on Lincoln Highway in Paradise, Pennsylvania. Another check confirmed with police that Justo did in fact live on the same block, in an apartment on the address seen where they pulled in. The next day, though, the detectives went in for more information from the man himself. They noted that Justo did in fact match the description given, and that he denied having any knowledge of Linda, who they mentioned had been missing. Justo offered his phone number, and the search for proof continued, as detectives reviewed the video once more to confirm the time window of about 15 minutes that Linda would have disappeared in. That time window matched up with the short interaction on the video, where they saw that red Kia Rio pull in and out and watch the woman in white being taken from the road with a supposed stranger. They even slowed the footage to find an object that appeared white, sitting in the passenger seat of this car, and eventually confirmed that the car had the same sticker and spoiler as Justo's vehicle. But in a matter of being certain, they also ran a cell phone record check to find that Justo's phone had in fact been in the general area of the business that spotted him on Harvest Drive back on the 23rd of June. Now it was all connected. Witnesses had claimed that Justo was seen cleaning his car on the day of June 21st, 2020, and Justo assured that he was nowhere near the location the detectives questioned him about once they approached. However, despite a Facebook post showing him cleaning his car, they had proof of his lies, as he claimed to be nowhere near the noted places like Beachdale Road, that's where the camera was, or Stumptown Road, where the church was. They had proof on video of that, and they had proof that he'd been near Jonathan's shop, next to those woods near Leola, just days afterward. Despite this, he claimed he'd never been near those woods, although he later recanted and instead said that he sometimes takes the back roads. After confirming this, a cadaver dog was brought in along with a team of police that checked the same area to find disturbed ground, which to them meant signs of a burial. Police searched the overturned earth to find a white bra and a pair of dark-colored stockings, tied up in an efficient knot. There was also a zip tie found nearby, and when shown the clothing, Linda's family confirmed that this bra and knot were both of the style that Linda sported. It's with all this confirmation that the detectives formed a belief that Justo was in fact to blame for Linda's kidnapping, and that harm may have been done to her after all. They called for a warrant, and later that day, in the heat of all their findings, they approached and arrested Justo at his place of work. There, he was charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment, and has since refused to publicly comment on the case himself. However, that's not the end of things. Justo, who is being held at Lancaster County Prison without possibility of bail, has allegedly been chatty in ways that don't bode well. Namely, it's said that he bragged while incarcerated that, quote, can't be convicted of murder with no body, end quote, according to an anonymous corrections officer at the prison. It should be noted that this comment, though damning when first heard, is only the result of hearsay and has not been provided by Justo in writing. What's more, Justo's defense attorney attempted to poke holes in the evidence provided for Justo's trial, including a specific jab at the video itself, which he argues cannot be identified as more than pixels, much less a person on the road. In the same vein, he claimed that the view they had could not confirm the black trim that the red Kia Rio in Justo's possession was said to have. Another point of contention for most investigations like this is the effect that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on Justo's due process. Normally, Pennsylvania legislature requires the prosecuted to have a trial within 180 days of their arrest if they're being held without bail. However, the rampant virus has put the rule on hold, and the due process is taking longer than it would normally be forced to take. A new court date has yet to be assigned to Justo as of now. There have been some change in the investigation, if only a little. While Detective Jones was able to get warrants for Justo's car and apartment, there's one more thing that apparently was of interest to him in the days following their discovery of Justo's involvement: his smartphone. Phone records now indicate that Justo had shared 15 texts and multimedia messages with his brother, who is not a stranger to criminal activity himself, on the day of Linda's disappearance. In fact, these messages were shown to have been sent between 1 and 3 p.m., the time period directly following Linda's supposed window of time on the road between home and church. In other words, from these findings, it's almost as if Justo picked up Linda and they began to text his brother, planning their next move. The context of these texts, though unsealed as of September 17th, still aren't known to the public. What has been revealed, though, is likely to cement the reasoning that the detectives have reached. Given their vicinity of the time of Linda's abduction, the detectives still believe, even after the unsealing of these texts, that Justo kidnapped Linda, and there's still no realistic reason why she would have gone with him willingly. Insofar, though, Justo pleads not guilty of the charges facing him, which is a far cry from the Justo that was adopted off the street at age 7, or even the 21-year-old seen in court for the 4 robberies he committed with his brother. That Justo, back in 2006, heard the judge offer him a chance at a lower sentence so he could lead a reasonable life. Justo responded in kind and spoke of his adoptive parents Deb and Vernon Smoker by saying, "They raised me better than this." He pointed to his parents who had agreed to support him when he made it out of prison, and he then turned back to Judge Madensbacher and apologized. Quote, "I'm sorry for what I did and the people I hurt, including my family, but I'm glad they're here." End quote. Whatever the case all those years ago, the man that stands before trial for Linda's disappearance is a different one, unapologetic and confident that he can't be touched. And yet, there's proof in the pudding that this man, more than anyone else, has the answer to what happened to Linda that June afternoon. The Amish community, as one might expect, has stayed very much in touch and active regarding the news of Linda's disappearance. Search parties have driven out to several locations, and though each has turned up no leads, the investigators have refused to disclose them due to their possible status as crime scenes. That said, one of the searches that occurred in late August spanned 940 acres in the Welsh Mountain area. Hundreds of volunteers, as well as police departments and professional rescue teams, came to aid in the effort, although to no avail. There's even a Facebook page run by Linda's uncle, Mervyn Fisher, organizing prayer vigils for his missing niece. Mervyn states that support and care has spilled in from all corners, including places as far as the United Kingdom and Holland. With so many prayers coming in, it's evident that all hope is pointed toward finding Linda, whose disappearance is still fresh on the minds of the Amish of bird in hand, most of all. Still, there are others who have things to say and compassion to show. During this time, many Amish people have noted the connection between Linda's